Pecan, 2 seconds. Pecan for the lead. Got it! He got the record at the buzzer! The break for three. Buried! Gallagher pulls up. Gallagher rims it out the field. Slams it down. Cooley up ahead. Dombrowski, the freshman, off the window and one. Go back to Evans, corner three, got it! There's Lowe with the exclamation point as Dunny slams it down. Far side, Dawson unloads, knocks it home. Jenna Dawson by Teslovich, Epps puts it on the floor. Rice looks to drive in, Epps floats it up, got it! He got it! There's 1,000 for Bryce Epps.
The Valley Sports Guys podcast is brought to you live from His Place Coffee Community and more here in Monessen. Jose Negron, Alex Lyons here thanking you for joining us here on this Wednesday afternoon. Another episode of the Valley Sports Guys podcast, I believe episode number 77.
77, yep.
Of the Valley Sports Guys podcast. So thank you again for tuning in and joining us here this afternoon. We got a lot to discuss. WPIAL playoff action. We've had a ton of consolation games, kind of made us kind of go crazy, to be honest. I mean, we don't even know at this point. We're like, what games are left?
What day is it?
What day is it?
Time? Yeah, no.
We have no idea what is going on, but we are still bringing you.
We're here.
We are here. We are still bringing you the best coverage of local sports here in the Mon Valley, and we are proud to do it. As I try to, I don't know what is happening to me right now. I'm trying to queue up our stream here to check everything out, to take a look at our chat as well. If you are tuning in and want to, ask any questions or interact with us in the chat is open, so feel free to do so. Always willing to get off topic and, talk about other random Mon Valley stuff.
And Jose, I got something fun planned for the end of this.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
There's just two of us, so I think this will work nicely.
All right.
So it's local Mon Valley basketball related, but we'll have a little fun with this.
All right, cool. Well, let's start out. I wanted to start out the show by previewing the big game tonight. I mean, it's the biggest game, I feel like, in the Valley. Shout out to Delana Davis hitting up the chat. We always appreciate her tuning in. Thank you, Delana. But I wanted to start out by talking about, obviously, the big one tonight. We're going to be there for MVI Live. We'll have the stream on Myriad X, so be sure to check that out tonight. I'll be there to cover it. I'll be doing color commentary with you as well on the stream. But South Allegheny, Bell Vernon area, it all comes down to one game. Who is going to keep their season alive, advance to the state playoffs? Two local team that did face off against one another in the MVI Shootout Classic earlier this season, but it was a little bit different.
Yeah, Bell Vernon doesn't have about half the players they are going to have playing tonight, so that's definitely going to be a big difference. And, both of these teams kind of coming off some letdowns, and it's tough to see that because, you have South Allegheny. They played so well against Lincoln Park. Mm-hmm. And then you're expecting them, okay, well, they should be able to cruise in their first prelim game. Well, Bryce got hurt.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's huge. Bryce Epps is the catalyst of this team. And then Bell Vernon, they probably was even more of a letdown because it was a game that they feel, and go read the article, Coach Salvino even feels that the referees took it away from them.
Yeah. And I think right now, coming into this game, Bell Vernon is kind of, rejuvenated. I feel like they're realizing, all right, if we play the way that we are capable of, which all season long they should have kind of realized that. With the talent that they have, they know if they put in a full 4 quarters, they're one of the best teams in 4A. There's no question. But this is one of the, it's one of those situations too where South Allegheny, you mentioned it, against Lincoln Park. I mean, no other team has held, there's one other team that has held them to less than 50 points this season, and that was Central Catholic. And that was the only loss that Lincoln Park had this season. South Allegheny held them to 50 points. Like that, it's unheard of. This is a team that has scored in the hundreds this year. They've scored over 80 points in every other playoff game aside from that playoff game against South Allegheny. And then Lincoln Park is playing North Catholic in the championship game, I believe Saturday at 9 p.m. Which not really
two Division I prospects on that team,
right?
Minimum. I mean, you have the 5-star in Thomas. You have Cummings, who's going to Pitt. Following the footsteps of his older brother. But, I mean, you have two extremely talented individuals, but South Allegheny, they were right there with him. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was only a 4-point game at the half. I think it was 24-20 at the half of that game. And it was a game, okay, South Allegheny's doing something that really nobody's done to Lincoln Park this year, and that's compete with them.
Yeah, and it showed just how good South Allegheny's defense actually is. They pride themselves on the defensive end of the floor. It could frustrate Bell Vernon in what they have offensively. I mean, they have plenty of shooters, but those shooters are going to have to come ready to play.
And I think here's the biggest downfall for South Allegheny, and why I say a lot of teams are like this, where they play very limited bench players. South Allegheny, if it's up to Coach DeCenzo and everything's going right, he's not taking his 5 guys off the floor. I mean, you may see Camden Lewis. You may see Shane Rudberg. You may see Josh Jakowski, depending who gets into foul trouble. But they have logged so many minutes, that starting 5, and you got to wonder if now are they done? Are they completely worn out? Obviously, yeah, they want to go to the state playoffs once again, and they want to win, but that's, I think, a big thing to look at compared to Bell Vernon, where it's been guys in and out of the lineup all year. Tommy Davis is now seeing a bigger role. He didn't start. He's been in and out of the lineup due to injury. Curdy Wade, Diabre Lightfoot, they were at football to start the year. And now they're seeing bigger roles on varsity. Martin's been in and out of the lineup. So they have a much bigger rotation as of late, and I think they're probably a lot more, as you said, rejuvenated. And, that's a team that thinks they can make some noise inside the state playoffs as well.
Yeah, and it really goes back to what I wanted to touch on, too, beyond just this game tonight. But a lot of our local teams, I feel like fatigue is starting to set in. We saw it last night with Sarah Catholic against Greensburg Central Catholic. I know that was kind of a meaningless game. It was just basically saying which seed you get in the state playoffs. Yeah. But you see it with that team where they only have, 6, 7 players?
7 now, yeah. With Riley Alaba out with another knee injury.
And they played a lot of games over the last, week with, their Whippeal playoff loss and then now 2 consolation games. They played a lot of basketball, and it seems like fatigue's starting to set in. Maybe we see that a little bit with, McKeesport with the girls last night. We'll touch on that game here in a second.
McKeesport boys could be a similar situation.
Right.
Because they finally – and that's the thing. McKeesport, I think what helped the boys on their turnaround was they stopped going so deep onto their bench. But when you're going with your starting 5 seniors, then you, bring in Perkins and Spell, and that's about it. That wasn't something those guys were really used to, playing that high caliber of minutes. But I think that you saw the fatigue start to wear in their last couple games in the consolation brackets. And I think the same can be said about Sarah Catholic boys as well, because it looked like they were really fatigued. Maybe everyone besides Isaiah Petty in that loss to Clareton. Yeah,
it seems like that's kind of a common trend. And South Allegheny, they're wearing down. It's these guys play. It's a very high intensity brand of basketball that they play, especially on the defensive end of the floor. And so they're going to have to pull through it in that aspect of just giving everything you got to make it into the state playoffs. And that's a group that they don't want this to be their last game. I know that for sure. And Bell Vernon feels the same way, I'm sure. So.
And here's the thing: both of these teams, you don't have a lot leaving, but the caliber of players you have leaving on South Allegheny is much greater than at Bell Vernon. And this may be SA's last shot to get a decent run for a couple years. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously you have talent coming back, but you're losing Bryce Epps and you're losing Deshaun Carter versus the only seniors on Bell Vernon are Amir Butler and Evan Pollock.
Yeah.
So it's a big different look when you look at it in terms of that as well. Bell Vernon, you're going to expect them to be here the next year, next couple years, because even once you lose that next senior class, which is going to be Quinton Martin, okay, well, Curdy and Diabre are going to be juniors then that year.
And Zion's
a senior.
Only a sophomore.
Trevor's going to be a senior that year. So, I mean, even once you lose Quinton, you still have so much talent. I mean, Quinton and Braden, you're going to go, but Tommy Davis has looked good. So this may be that last true push for South Allegheny for at least a year until they get some. We don't know obviously what's coming up, but it may take another year or so for them to reset and get back to a competitive team like we see this year, competing for sections instead of competing for the third or fourth spot in their section.
Yeah, you have Michael Mahalski, Justin Beatty, Cam Epps back, but when you lose the all-time leading scorer in your program's history, I mean, that's very tough to replace, 23, 24 points per game. So
And he was the model of consistency.
Yep.
Everyone else,
in every way.
You knew
offensively, defensively.
Exactly. He did everything. And you knew one night, sometimes they both were going, but normally it was either or Beatty or Mahalski were going. Those two, both phenomenal players, but they weren't as consistent. You knew every night Bryce was going to get his, and you hoped one of those two was going to get theirs. And normally one of those two did. But very rarely were those two consistently where they wanted to be offensively. And that's not saying anything against them. Those two are absolutely phenomenal players. But they're going to have to be huge here tonight, especially with Bryce not being at 100%.
Right. But for all the action, be sure to check out the stream tonight on MirrorDex.com. Like I said, both Alex and I will be on the stream. I'll have coverage for tomorrow's MVI. I believe Mike Darnay is shooting tonight's game.
Nice.
I'm not sure exactly if I'm correct on that. I'll have to look at the coverage schedule. But I wanted to also give a shout-out, I saw in the chat, to Rob Ramsey, Brownsville boys basketball coach. A phenomenal job in his first season guiding the Falcons. So wanted to give a shout-out to Rob. Thank you for tuning in. I think we have 10 people watching right now. I mean, I know I'm watching.
That's because they knew it was just us today, Jose.
Everybody just wants to see the Valley Sportscast podcast. Big fans. We appreciate the support as always. But I wanted to move on and recap last night's action.
Before we get off, boys.
Okay.
Congratulations to the Bears and Coach Hatton.
Yes.
First state playoff berth since 2013 for Coach Hatton's squad in his second year. An 11-win turnaround so far this year for the Bears. They have a game tonight to play for what would be the 5th seed out of District 7 and a chance to continue to move up the ranks. But phenomenal job by Coach Hatton and the Clareton Bears on that turnaround, getting Dean and Wright back after injuries last year. Caden Smith's been incredible, and that's a phenomenal story, and just so happy to see them back in the state playoffs for the first time in 10 seasons.
Major Coach of the Year candidate.
Oh, absolutely.
Without question. I mean, the job that he has done, and it's not even just the fact that they went from 1 win to appearances in the WPIAL and state playoffs. It's just what we see from him in his interactions with these kids and the way that they interact with him. It's just there's so much trust there. And there's so much of, just they know that he has been in their shoes. He's played in big games. And he wanted to bring this program back to where it was. And I feel like he's getting the most out of what, the group that he has right now. And they want to win. They want to win for themselves. They want to win for, the city of Clareton. They want to win for their coaching staff. It's pretty special to see. A great group. Congratulations to Coach Hatton, his coaching staff, his players. Well-deserved. And they're a team that, they showed it when they upset Fort Cherry in the first round. They're a team that can make some noise here in the state playoffs. And they believed that when they beat Jeanette in order to clinch a spot in the WPIAL playoffs. Devin Dean and Caden Smith both said, we can do something. Like, we can make something happen, even if it's not winning a WPIAL championship, we can go in there and ruin some days. And, that's what they were able to do against Fort Cherry. And I don't think they're going to get overlooked when it comes to the state playoffs, too, because they've gotten some big wins. They have a big game tonight to kind of prepare. Obviously, getting the better of a good Sarah Catholic team was big, too.
Yeah, now Sarah, they're in a must-win situation against Shenango here tonight as well. So 2 games with, state playoff implications on the line. Who's going to make it, as we have a chance at 2 of 3 Valley schools making it, either SA or Bell Vernon. One of those two definitely going, and a win over Shenango at home. The Eagles are going to go back to the state playoffs for the first time in a couple seasons.
And Clareton has Eden Christian tonight, correct?
Yep. And that's again for the 5th seed out of District 7. So big game for them again. And not many people thought they were going to beat Fort Cherry. I'm not necessarily surprised. I knew they'd give them a good game, and they did absolutely just that.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the sense of Fort Cherry, I think, had 2 losses going into that game, 1 or 2. So in that sense, it's like, okay, well, that's a pretty big upset. But, at the same time, when you have players that are as good as Devin Dean, Caden Smith, Deshaun Hines, Mike Ruffin, a freshman, was huge against Sarah Catholic, especially in that first quarter, had 7 of his points. I think he finished with 10 or 11. There's just a lot of guys stepping up. Smith has played a big role for them as well. There's a lot of guys who've stepped up. They've had some guys come off the bench and contribute. So it's not entirely surprising, but cool to see Clairton get back to the state playoffs for the first time since 2013. I know you said they had a play-in game in 2016.
Yeah.
But this is the first time that they actually have advanced to the state playoffs in 10 years.
This was the first time, and sometimes you got to take a step backwards to move forward. They'd made the playoffs 17 straight years, but they hadn't had a playoff win since 2016.
Yeah.
So, they missed it last year, but a playoff win in the district level, a play-in win at the state level to get themselves to the state playoffs, that's a huge turnaround for Coach Hatton. And, it's just nothing but success coming for them, it seems like, in the future. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with, that being the Clairton Bears. They are fun to watch. And before we move on from that, I heard a lot of people saying, Fort Cherry, that's what they do in the playoffs. They just choke. Okay, well, they upset Fraser a couple years ago, the year Fraser had that great turnaround year with that heavy senior-laden class for Coach Zach Kiefer. And then Fort Cherry, if I'm not mistaken, they were in the district title game last year.
Yep.
So, Fort Cherry doesn't always choke. So, Clairton's good, and that's why they won.
Right.
It's not that Fort Cherry can't play in the playoffs. They've proved they've been able to, because they beat Fraser, who was a higher seed. They went in, played Stowe Rocks, incredible on the road, almost beat them that year. And then, again, last year they were in the district title game. So they've had some good seasons in the playoffs, and that was just the Bears being better on that night.
And you can't look at a record. You might look at Clairton's record and say, they're 12-13. Like, that's not indicative of how good that team is.
11 more wins than last year.
Right. And it's not indicative of how good that team is. And, they played 2 close games with Sarah Catholic, during the regular season. They beat Jeanette at the end of the year to earn a spot in the WPIAL playoffs, and they earned their spot in the state playoffs. Everything that they've gotten this year in terms of, getting opportunities to play in the postseason, they've earned them with big victories.
Yeah, and look at it this way. Okay, so you played GCC. That was a semifinalist. They did get steamrolled, but they played them close. Okay, you played...
The first time, it was a 5-point game the first time they played them.
Then you played, Sarah Catholic twice. Well, Sarah Catholic was a quarterfinalist like them, and Sarah Catholic almost beat Bishop Canevin. Mm-hmm. They played extremely close in that game against Bishop Canevin, and then they beat Sarah Catholic to earn their way into the state playoffs. They were in a tough section, a lot of good teams, and Jeanette wasn't a slouch either at all.
Right.
And then you lost to a very good Northgate team inside the quarterfinals.
And you look at the Jeanette matchups, the first time they played, they lost by 5, and they limited Jeanette to 39 points. And then the second time around, they beat them 63-58. So it was another 5-point game that they, were able to win on their home floor. So, that's the record doesn't indicate how good a team is. It's, a team that, especially, down the stretch, they were playing their best basketball. So a credit to the Bears and what they've been able to do, and pretty cool to see them back in the state playoffs. If you want to look back at that matchup for Monday, you can. You can watch it again. We streamed
great.
it on Monday. If you want to go back and watch it on Miradex, that is an option.
Yeah. Oh, it was a good game. I recommend it.
I highly recommend it.
It was a lot of fun doing that one. But another team going to the state playoffs, but their district journey came to an end last night, the McKeesport Lady Tigers, and it looked good for a long time for McKeesport. You got up big early on by 9 points after scoring the opening bucket of the quarter number 2, and then a big 17-0 run for Oakland Catholic kind of turned the tide, but back and forth game, and it really came down to McKeesport missed way too many easy buckets in that fourth quarter as Oakland Catholic and Division I North Florida commit Alexa Washington back to the district title game for the first time since 2017, looking for their first championship since 2006.
Yeah, and like you said, just they had opportunities in that fourth quarter and just couldn't capitalize. They scored early on. I think Rachel Manfredo had a bucket to tie the game at 43-43, and then they went on a drought from the field, didn't score again, didn't score another basket until I think under a minute left. So they went on that, drought. And then Alexa Washington hit 2 big three-pointers. She had 6 threes. And finished with a game-high 26 points to lead Oakland Catholic into the district title game. And from there, I think they went, 9 of 12 from the charity stripe and kind of sealed the deal. So it was that big lull in the fourth quarter that really cost the Tigers. It was tied at 41-41 going into that fourth quarter, and then the Eagles outscored them 17-10 in the final 8 minutes. So that made the difference. But, I know it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a year, but Oakland Catholic did what they needed to do, and I mentioned it in my lead for today's MVI that Oakland Catholic's just McKeesport's kryptonite at this point.
They really are, and it's a very talented Oakland Catholic squad. And it didn't help when you had Hertzler and Charles on the bench for the majority of that game, or first half, I should say.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you don't have A.V. Menifee, which is ginormous. And, if you have Menifee in that game, you probably win it. And
yeah,
you hate looking at it that way, but you probably do. A.V. makes that much of a difference.
Yeah, defensively, she's without question the best defender on that team. And that says a lot because they also have a girl named Brooke Evans who is just a phenomenal defender. She was all over the place last night. I thought she played a great game. But yeah, and not even just like her defense, but her leadership. You have 2 seniors on this team in Melina Board and A.V. Menifee. Board hit 3 big three-pointers last night. And that's a big thing too. This is still a McKeesport team that's relatively young. They got a lot of juniors. They're going to be very good next year as well. Wouldn't be shocked if they go on a pretty lengthy state playoff run too. That they're just that good. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's just they just haven't been able to get over that hump of beating Oakland Catholic. It's been 3 very close games. All 3 meetings this year have been close. But they just haven't been able to put it all together. They went, they were up 18-11 at the end of the first quarter.
Got it to 20-11.
20-11 early in the second, and then 17 unanswered.
Yeah, it was from the 7:51 mark to the 1:34 mark between McKeesport points in quarter number 2.
Right, and just the momentum was just such a huge swing in favor of Oakland Catholic there. Where McKeesport, credit to them in the third quarter, they were able to rally back. I think a 9-2 run at one point where they were able to, to make it close once again. So a credit to those girls for never quitting, and not backing down after, letting up a big run like that. Because, you let up a 17-0 run. I know they were only down by 5 at halftime, but you let up a run like that, you can run out of gas pretty quick. And you can kind of say, oh, well, this is getting out of hand. Like, what are we going to do? There was no panic, though.
And we focus a lot, too, on what Washington did for Oakland Catholic, but I think the biggest turnaround in that game was the play of Shore off the bench.
Yeah. What she did on Manfredo in the third.
And it's not that Manfredo was outmatched. It's just how lengthy Shore is that they couldn't get Rachel the ball. And Shore just was denying every opportunity. They were trying to feed Rachel Manfredo the basketball. It did not work. Shore did an excellent job on that. After a 10-point first quarter, I think Manfredo had 17 in the game.
Yeah.
So it tells you what kind of job she did as well. And then that just allowed Washington to get open, which was big trouble because Washington had some threes with nobody within about 10 feet of her.
And a credit to Brooke Evans. She kind of took over in that third quarter, helped, kind of alleviate the pain of not seeing Manfredo score as much as she did in the first half. But also a credit to London Creech in the fourth quarter because she kind of continued what Shore was doing, and she kind of shut down Manfredo. Obviously, those two know each other very well, playing in the MVI SBL together on the same team. But yeah, defensively, what they were able to do on Manfredo, what they were able to do against McKeesport, I think that made a huge difference. Oakland Catholic just being able to lock down defensively and then hit big shots. Alexa Washington just phenomenal from beyond the arc. I think those 2 threes that she hit in the fourth quarter, she was wide open, and it's you kind of, with McKeesport's defense, I guess you kind of take that risk, but when you leave a player like that wide open like she was, she's not missing very often.
Eventually you're going to get burned, and that's what happened. But if you're McKeesport, okay, you lost. That sucks. Time to regroup. It's what you did last year. You lost in the semis last year. You made it to the state semis last year. So there's still work to be done. Go get the 7-3 seed, get a big win, get the 7-3, and then go from there.
And that's the thing, too, is you're going into a third-place consolation game Thursday with Woodland Hills, a team they've already beat this year, and played in non-section play, a team that they're familiar with because they were in the same section, I believe, as early as last season. So, you're playing a team that you're familiar with. They played them on December 22nd, had a 66-44 victory against the Wolverines. So, it's a different Woodland Hills team. There's no question about that because obviously they have done what they have done. They made it to the semifinals for a reason. They pulled off the upset of Trinity. They won in the first round against Armstrong. Obviously, a deflating loss against South Fayette, but a lot of people have had deflating losses against South Fayette. There's a reason why they're the 1 seed in 5A. So they're going to be on their home floor. McKeesport is 7 p.m. Thursday against Woodland Hills. So a good opportunity here for the Tigers to bounce back. Like you said, get that 3rd seed out of District 7, and then have a chance to make another state playoff run like they did last year. So.
Yeah, and it's important. The reason why I think that game's so important, you're making the state playoffs, but you want to go in with momentum or not?
Yeah.
And I think you can get some momentum back after in a sense, it's deflating either way because you're not playing for district gold anymore. So it's one of those things. It's less deflating. Yeah, it sucks not going to the semifinals, but those teams didn't just miss out on a chance to play for the championship.
Yeah. We have a good amount of matchups here tonight. We do have some games tomorrow, including that matchup between McKeesport and Woodland Hills for that 3rd place spot in District 7 out of Class 5A. So still have some basketball to play, still have state playoffs coming up. We have district championships. No Valley teams in the district championships this weekend, but best of luck to all those teams playing at the Peterson Event Center. I know that's a pretty cool experience for those kids to be able to play on the same floor that the Pitt Panthers do, who are a top 25 basketball team.
Should still be at the UPMC Sports Event Center.
Yeah, I mean.
But hey.
I think they should have it in Norwin. I mean, they have everything else in Norwin. So.
They do have a lot there. Or Peters Township again.
Peters, I'll tell you what.
They've done championships.
I covered my first basketball game at Peters because, the first time I had covered a game at the new gym wasn't even last year. It was this year whenever Fraser played in, Bishop Canavan in the semis?
Mapletown. Sarah played Bishop.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, so that was the first game that I covered at Peters. This was the first basketball game I covered at Peters, and it was just phenomenal.
Oh, it's a beautiful setup.
The high top tables for the media, and there's power, there's Wi-Fi. That's all we need.
They got it all.
All you need to warm my heart is give me Wi-Fi and a outlet to plug my charger for my laptop and my phone in. That's all I need.
And Gateway, not bad either.
Gateway is phenomenal too. I love their court.
That's pretty great time.
The tables, if they raise them up a little bit, it might help. I tried to sit on the stool and be on the thing on the table and type and stuff. And I don't know. I'm just a small person, so I guess it was just awkward for me.
It's still overall you can't complain.
No. Great looking court, great facility.
You don't even have to go into the gym to get up to the press box.
Yeah.
You don't have to work through anything. You just get there up the stairs into the area. Oh, it's perfect.
Big prop. That was I think my first time at Gateway, probably since 2017 or 18.
That was my 4th time there in 2 months.
That was my it's been a while, but props to everybody at Gateway and Peters for their hospitality. I was able to stay at Peters and write my story afterwards, and with no issues or anything like that, which was really cool. So props to everybody who's hosted games for being so hospitable to us media people. So we appreciate it. But moving on, we want to go into your little whippy old basketball surprise.
Yeah. So we'll go Mon Valley surprise. So
okay,
we got our 5 starters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You got your 1 through 5. I'm going to give you first pick. We're going Mon Valley.
Oh, we're going to do a draft?
We're going draft here today.
Oh, so I get the number 1 pick.
You get number 1 pick.
In the Valley.
In the Valley. We'll do.
All right,
we can do boys and girls. So up to you.
Oh, so okay, boys and girls.
No. We can do one of each if we want.
We're just doing 5
starters.
5 starters. Okay, my first pick is Bryce Epps.
Where are you putting him? Is he going to be your 1 or your 2?
He's gonna be the 1.
Going to be the 1.
He's gonna run the show.
Well, give me Q at the 4.
Okay.
You got to take the athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, if I give you Q and Bryce, it's game over.
Yeah, that's true. Man, this is hard because now I'm trying to cycle through.
So I gave you the first pick.
Through the entire list of players in the entire Valley. So.
There's a lot of good talent out there.
There's a ton, and I'm trying to kind of cycle through everything. It's a lot to think about.
I think I know where I would go if I was you. But
At 2? Is it a boy or a girl?
Oh, no, so stay with all boys here.
Oh, we're doing all boys?
But
Okay.
then we can go girls.
I hate that you gave me the first pick. This is difficult. It's like, and I'm on the spot here because everybody's, we have people watching.
I'm hoping you don't go where I would go if I'm in your spot right now.
I'm honestly like blanking on like who.
There's one of 2 guys I would go, but I can't take one because of me taking Q.
Why? Because he's on the same team.
Same
Type of player.
Same position. I would have put him at the 4 too.
I'm going to. Why am I like?
I'll say
right
same
now?
school we covered last night is kind of where I'm thinking. Just on the boys' side of things. That's personally.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about.
But
that's somebody I would consider too. Right now I'm thinking who is like a good rebounder, and who is going to like give me a good shot at getting some board. You know what? I'm gonna like this isn't like based on like like best play. We're not thinking like that. I'm thinking of like needs. I'm gonna go Deshaun Hines. His rebounding skills, his ability to play inside. I'm going to go Deshaun Hines as a kind of like I don't know, maybe you call it a sleeper second pick. But, yeah, I like Epps and Hines.
I like that.
You going Dunny?
No. See, I would put Dunny where Q is. So give me Berger at the 3 spot.
Berger. Oh, man.
Berger at the 3, Q at the 4.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go I feel like Naz is going to watch this back and, like,
he's going to just roast us.
He's just going to disagree with everything. You know what? Give me Zion Moore.
That's where I would have went next. Zion's a phenomenal player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 1,000-point scorer this year. You can't get much better than Zion.
I'm gonna try to go different teams too. I'm not gonna take like the same player on the same team.
That's what I'm trying to do, and I like Berger. I like Q, 2 great players. I kind of want some leadership on the floor out of this group. But give me Devin Dean as the point guard of the team.
Okay. I'm going to go. I got Hines. I got Moore. I got Epps. Give me Dunny Rowe.
Dunny? Okay. And then I'll take Zay. Give me Isaiah.
Okay.
So I got my
Which
guard.
Isaiah are we talking about? Petty?
Give me Petty.
Okay.
I think good shooter, good defense. I think Petty's a lot of steals and scores. Put him with Devin Dean up top. That's going to be a tough front court.
That's a good one.
Or a tough backcourt to deal with.
All right, so I got 2 bigs there with Dunny and –
you got Dunny and Hines.
I got Bryce and I got Zion.
So you got Bryce as your point, Zion as your shooting, Dunny and Hines.
You know what? So give me Owen Dombrowski.
That's a good pick. I like that.
Owen Dombrowski shooting some threes.
And I knew where I was going to go with this.
When Owen Dombrowski gets going,
there's
not much stopping him.
I think that's a fantastic pick. And I knew where I was going, and I can't think of it, which it was my last pick. I need a big, and where was I going with this? So we got Sarah Catholic, we got Clareton, going through all our schools trying to figure out where I was.
I was doing the same exact thing.
At least
it was really hard. I forgot Thomas Jefferson. When you mentioned Berger, I'm like, we covered Thomas Jefferson. Like what? It's the pressure.
It is the
doing
pressure.
This under pressure. If you have a top 5 in the Valley, put it in the chat. Let us know who you got.
And now it's like, okay, where was I going? Because like,
who do you have now?
I need a center, and I knew where I was going with it. I'm just trying to think of the team. Got to go through all the teams we've covered right now and try to, because you took Hines, who was
I got Hines. I got Dunny Rowe, Owen Dombrowski, Bryce Epps, and Zion Moore. I think that's a pretty good starting 5.
No, I like that starting 5. I mean, there's one guy. Oh, I do know where I was going with the 5. It took me a second. Played one game this year, but give me Charlie.
Oh, there you go.
Give me Charlie. I need a center. I need a guy to put down low.
Who's your 6th man?
6th man.
We don't have to draw. We just name one
guy
man.
You'd like to be the 6th man. You know, you're looking at a 6th man. You want someone to be able to come off the bench and then give you some big buckets, give you a spark. And this will be my first repeat. And you know, when you only do 2 groups with just me and you, a lot of good talent off the boards. Like no one picked Caden Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, he's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But give me – I want a guy that's going to be able to come in, shoot, play some defense, play kind of anywhere. Give me Joey DeMoss.
Okay.
As my sixth man.
I'm going to based on familiarity with the starting five. He plays in the summer league with guys like Dunny.
I think I know who you're going to take,
Moore.
and this is going to be a good
He was a teammate of Bryce Epps on Elite Physical Therapy. He's only a freshman.
I like that.
It was before it's Drew Cook.
I like that pick, Jose.
Sixth man.
I was thinking the other option that I was looking at if we were going like a sixth man would have been maybe a guy like Michael Mahalski.
Yeah.
Because Michael was going to give you good defense. He's going to be able to shoot the three. He can go very similar
shoot
player
inside.
Very similar player to Joey. I just give Joey's a little better outside than Mike. Mike's a little better inside. And again, when I kind of think of where you want to spark, I want someone that's going to come off the bench and shoot a three.
Yeah. Mike and Deshaun Carter are going to be big tonight.
They are.
They're going to have to play big roles for
are.
sure. And they're going to have to make sure that you keep Quentin away from the hoop, out rebound Quentin, which isn't easy.
Listen,
at all.
I would love to see. Okay, take these six guys we both have and put them on a court against each other.
I think that'd be phenomenal. We should
So you got Bryce, Zion.
Honestly, I think we should do we'll pitch this. I'll pitch it to someone. MVI SBL All-Star Game where we draft our teams.
So like the old NHL All-Star games.
Yeah.
I like that. So let's see. You had Bryce, Zion,
Dunny. Dombrowski, Dunny,
and Hines.
Deshaun, Hines, and then
Cook.
Drew Cook coming off the bench
and then
as a sixth man.
Isaiah.
And that's guys from different teams too. It's not like
I picked one similar. So if we're gonna if we'll go one of each team, we'll make my sixth guy Mahalski.
Okay.
Because then I took Isaiah, I took Berger, Q, Charlie. Who the heck did I take as my two? Dean. Dean was my one. Petty was my two. That's right.
Should we put these in the chat so that we remember?
We should write this down, Jose, instead of us.
We should write this down.
Every time I see people do drafts, they write it down. No, we're just going for it.
We'll watch this over again because you can watch it over again here on YouTube if you want to.
Here we go.
But
into the phone we go. I'll just write everything down.
Yeah, we'll type it out.
But I thought
Rob Ramsey mentions Lorenzo Gardner too.
That's a good.
That was a good one that we didn't pick out. There's a ton of guys there like Caden, like you mentioned, Caden Smith, Lorenzo Gardner. I was thinking about because the way he could shoot the basketball and take over a game. It's phenomenal.
And the reason a lot of this is, for me, I know where I could put Lorenzo, and because you got Q down at the 4, you got Evan. I'm putting him at the 3. Lorenzo, you want him at probably that 3 spot on your rotation. It's just, but he had a great season as well.
He's another guy I would consider in that sixth man spot to come off the bench and just take over a game.
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't have an issue with that.
No, I 100% agree with you. And, you hope they find a way to kind of all stay on the court next year for Monessen. That was a big issue. Who was available for Coach Dan Bosnick this past year? What did they have available kind of at their repertoire? And you saw it get down to the playoffs. It wasn't what we saw at the beginning part of the season. And they just don't have that big knockdown shooter that they've had in years past.
Yeah.
And you hope that's something maybe Monessen can get back and give Lorenzo some support offensively.
And I think if we were to do full teams here and draft them, we'd have some pretty good teams. Yeah. There's a lot of talented players here in the Valley. But maybe we can do that. Maybe we can talk Naz into letting us letting us draft our own teams for an all-star game.
And here's, I think, what we look to do, because the way we had, the finals, we had a day off in there before the championships, so in the summer. So if we get that, the one day we normally would have, because we had the girls and boys championships on the same day, we can do that. And, Jose, we're not going to get a broadcast on this, or we are, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to get it that me and you both have mics. We're going to be mic'd up. Me and you are coaching.
I'm down. Yeah, I think we're going to make it like the NBA All-Star Games. All scores going to be 196 to 192.
If someone plays defense, I'm benching them.
Yeah, if you play defense, you're out of the game. So that's just the way it's going to go. So, but anything else you want to touch on? We got to give a shout out to a Whippeal champion, 3-time Whippeal champion in wrestling this past weekend.
Rune Lawrence.
Frazier's Rune Lawrence.
He's going to be a 4 for 4 in both, in my opinion. I've said that
Kid
for a while.
is an absolute just menace on the mat. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Chris Vargo. I know he fell short of winning another Whippeal championship, but that kid is just phenomenal as well. A Charleroi student who wrestles for Bentworth. Both of those guys, ton of props for what they were able to do. I know Cole Doppelhauer from Bell Vernon. I also, I believe, finished second in his weight class. So a lot of good Mon Valley wrestlers who were representing the Valley very well at the Whippeal Championships this past weekend, and we're excited to see what they can do in the state championships as well. So.
Yep, as the trip to Chocolate World coming up.
Yeah, we don't get to do that for football anymore.
No,
I've never gone to a state championship for basketball either. So
I was at the wrestling ones last year when Rune won, and then Finnery beat.
Finnery from TJ.
He beat Cole Waitman in the final, and that was one where Cole's knee just kind of started to give out again towards the end of that.
It was cool to see two local kids go head to head for that, though. And that was pretty.
And also, cool. One of my favorite things about that is, they first of all, the PIAA does phenomenal with that. Giant Center does a great job venue-wise, but I was right down on the floor, which it was cold. I sat there for a long time. They just have the pad over the ice, and you don't have the wrestling mat there. But, I was right there for when Rune won, and then right there on the mat for Finnery and Waitman. But one of my favorite things all weekend long was Matt Humbert, just because Matt, first row, right at that mat with all his guys, whether it had been, I think Hoffman was there last year, Waitman, and just, you can just see the care that Coach Matt Humbert has for, his athletes and his individuals on the roster, on the floor for him. And I really like that with Matt Humbert, and just got to see the support he had for all his kids. Even though he's not the wrestling coach, he was coaching and giving that motivation 5 feet away from Waitman against Finnery in that championship last year.
We got to get you back to the Giant Center this year.
It was a good time. I had a lot of fun. Went out with the Frazier guys, with John, Malone, Nick, who was supposed to be here. R.I.P. Nick.
Yeah, Nick is supposed to be in that chair.
The ghost of Nick Hicks right here.
He's not here.
But no, that was a lot of fun last year, and I think Rune probably gonna get another one done this year.
Yeah, but best of luck to all the guys that are going to be on the mat in the state championships. Obviously, want to see you guys bring it home back to the Mon Valley. Got to give a shout out to the Cal women's basketball team as well before we sign off here. Big victory over IUP on Saturday, as my wife is trying to call me while we're on stream here.
Come on, Bree.
Big win over IUP on Saturday. They earned a bye in the PSAC tournament. They play Edinburgh today, actually, at 6 o'clock. Jeremy Salou will have coverage of that for tomorrow's MVI, while we head to South Allegheny for coverage of that matchup with Bell Vernon. But Cal women, huge win. Sierra Lloyd, 36 points, 6th most in a single game in program history. First 30-plus point game of the season for any Cal player, and the most points scored in a few years since Sierra Barrett scored over 40 points, I believe, in 2018. I think that's right, but I could be wrong on the year, but I believe it was 2018. A special performance for Cal to be able to get that win over a rival in overtime as well. They won 88-84, so big victory there for the Cal women. Bree just texted me too and said, "Hey, did you call me?" I said, "I called you like an hour and a half ago." But anyways, she said, "Oh, I forgot it was Wednesday."
This is what happens when we get left alone, right?
She said, "I forgot it was Wednesday and you have a podcast." I'm like, yeah, I do.
That's what we're doing right now.
Which we do want to mention to everybody tuning in. We're actually going to start doing our podcast every 2 weeks, which is why we didn't have a podcast last week. So we will not be back next week, but we will be back the week after. We'll recap the Whippeal championship or Whippeal
most
playoffs.
Likely, and then
at that point,
gonna change.
states. Yeah, at that point, we'll try to recap states as well. And by that point as well, we'll be talking baseball and softball. So we have a lot to discuss. The seasons never end. It's always a grind here in the Valley, and we're happy to bring you coverage here with the Mon Valley Independent and our sports department and our news department. Our news department has done a phenomenal job always. I mean, they just do such great work. So shout out to all of our news reporters and the jobs they do every day. Yeah, thank you to all you for all your support. Anything else you want to add before we get going here?
No, it was a good time, Jose, as always, buddy.
We do have a hockey stream next week.
Yeah, we'll have some playoff hockeys. Rams will get a home game against Burrow.
Yep.
A week from tomorrow, so we'll have that one for you, so stay tuned for that. But, yeah, Ringgold kind of struggled a bit as of late, a close game with EF who just missed the playoffs.
And want to mention it's the first time we're going to be going to the CFS Bank Event Center.
That's true, yeah, no longer the Ross Straver Ice Garden, renamed.
Yep, renamed. We'll get to be there for some hockey action next week. So we'll bring you everything. We'll bring you basketball, we'll bring you hockey, we'll even bring you baseball and softball. Excited for baseball and softball season. We'll actually get to talk to a lot of our coaches this weekend. On Sunday, we'll have our MVI Live Media Day for our baseball and softball teams.
I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah, we were able to do that during basketball season. We're going to be able to do it this weekend for baseball and softball. Baseball and softball tab will be coming out shortly that we'll be working on. So a lot going on. We got a lot going on, and we're excited about it, excited to bring those products to you and to continue our coverage of high school sports here in the Mon Valley.
And if you want to see Jose and me get to draft some teams this summer and coach an all-star game, please start calling Naz. Tell him it needs to happen.
If you want to just just on social media, just say, MVI SBL all-star draft or something. Let's get it
let's go and look
trending.
at this.
Oh, you wrote it down.
I did. Everybody but one.
Hines. Is Hines the only one who's not in the Summer League?
Hines was the only one who hasn't played Summer League.
Wow.
Bryce, EPT, Q was B graphic. Hines didn't. Berger was Dax Thomas. Zion Howard Hanna. Dean Howard Hanna. Dunny Dax Thomas. Isaiah Union Cleaners. Charlie was B graphics. Drew.
Owen's not in it either.
No, Owen played for Howard Hanna.
Did he?
Yeah. Owen got drafted by Matt this year because I remember talking to Owen's dad after the state championship game about he's going to miss day one or state playoff game.
Did he play a lot?
He did, yeah. Owen had some big threes this year.
What?
And then,
where was I guess I didn't cover any Howard Hanna games.
I'm looking back at this. We may need to make some changes. I have Evan and Mike, who are both on Naz's team. I'm just picking up the Dax Thomas squad.
They were in the championship game last year.
They were.
So
yeah. But I think we did.
Fair enough.
You had Dunny, who was on Naz's team.
Yep.
So
it can happen. I mean, some of those guys are seniors, so they won't be eligible to come back into the summer league.
No, but we're going to have a lot of new faces. And hey, now it's the end of basketball season. It's a great time to start looking, hey, where do you want to do this summer? Come play with us in the MVI SBL.
Why don't we do that right now? If you're looking for a place to play this summer, join the Mon Valley Independent Summer Basketball League, boys and girls action. Some of the best summer basketball you will find is at the MVI SBL. And we're not just saying that. We're really not. I mean, the talent level is just top-notch. Guys that aren't even from the Mon Valley. You got guys like, the Woodland Hills guys, with Chaz Cobbs Scoop Smith. I mean, those guys are just phenomenal. We've had so many good girls from the Trinity basketball team over the last couple years. Eden Williamson this past year. We had Alyssa Clutter in the past. The Venick twins. I mean, so many good players who have come back from, schools that are not even in the Mon Valley that, we don't get to cover them during the high school season, but we get to see what they do during the summer.
Let me say this. If you had the opportunity on one night to see Makai Valentine, Quentin Martin, Rodney Gallagher, Keandre DeShields, and Zion Moore all play, yeah, you would have had that.
Braden Reynolds and Rodney Gallagher played on the same team at one point.
Bryce Epps,
Cameron Epps,
Makai Valentine,
Drew Cook, Makai Valentine, Notorious Grooms. A few.
Calvin Winfrey III. I mean, it's incredible.
I was just naming all the EPT guys. Those are all guys that are just on one team. And then you got Austin Matthews, you got Isaiah Turner, you got a ton of guys that are on that team. Just one team. There's a reason why they didn't lose a game last summer. I mean, it's just so good. seeing Mekhi Valentine and Bryce Epps on the same court playing with one another. I mean, they're both those are two of the best players in the WPIAL, and they were both in the MVI SBL.
I think one of my favorite thing about it is you see the rivalry, like not the hatred rivalry, but
such a friendly rivalry.
The friendship rivalry, like between the Uniontown and the Bell Vernon kids, the LH and the Bell Vernon kids, and it was Steel Valley and SA was such a good rivalry with Valentine and the Epps. I mean, it's incredible what that kind of helps develop. And again, if you're looking to play, come try out. You can't beat it. There's not a more competitive summer league in the area that's not AAU.
And we're not even talking about the girls' side either right now. Like, the girls' side is just as competitive.
Clutter, Williamson, Mallory, Daly.
It's phenomenal. We saw last year, the McKee Sport girls start getting into it with Rachel Manfredo and Lisa Pye, Brooke Evans, and the defending champions from Edward Jones who knocked off AMD Industries.
I'd like to see a couple more. I mean, we saw Caitlin Settles come out this year. I'd like to see maybe get Chloe Zombeck from EF coming out to play. I mean,
Alyssa Terza is on that Edward Jones team as well. So you have a lot of really good talent in the MVI SBL and on both sides, the girls and the boys. So we encourage anybody who's interested, not even if you don't attend a Mon Valley school, join the MVI SBL and not just improve your game with some great coaches. We have phenomenal coaches on both sides, but also have some fun in the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But, that's our sales pitch. Aside from that, be sure to follow us on social media. Be sure to tune in tonight. Meridex, MVI Live, South Allegheny versus Bell Vernon, state championship berth, state playoff berth, my God, on the line between the Leopards and the Gladiators. Should be a great one. We'll have coverage of that. You'll see both of our smiling faces.
If you haven't had enough of Jose and myself, come on. What's another hour and a half?
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, we've been killing it this week, I feel like. So all of our coverage has been phenomenal. And be sure to pick up a copy of today's Mon Valley Independent for coverage from McKee Sports game against Oakland Catholic. Jeremy had the coverage of Sarah Catholic, Greensburg Central Catholic. So a ton of coverage over the past week, and we'll continue that into tomorrow as well. But thank you for tuning in. Once again, we appreciate the support endlessly. We could not do this without all of you. But we appreciate it. But for Alex Lyons, Jose Negron, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks here for the Valley Sports Podcast.
Or in a couple hours.
Or in a couple hours. Whichever.
Or both.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.